It's the perpetual book nerd struggle. How do I fit all these books on my shelf? Well, as a librarian and a reader, trust me, I get it. Unfortunately, it often comes down to clearing off those shelves. This month, I'm bound to make space on my personal library bookshelves, and I will be unhauling some of my books. Hi there. I'm Michelle with the Goffstown Public Library, where I'm an adult services librarian. If you're new here, welcome to our library. We're so glad to have you here. I make weekly booktube videos, and the rest of the channel is devoted to bringing the public library online. So we've got book talks for all ages, story times, crafts, how-tos, and more. You should subscribe if that sounds like your thing. Today's book talk with Michelle will be an unhaul. You know, every library needs to cull its collections every once in a while. Here at the Goffstown Public Library, we're committed to delivering a streamlined and relevant collection. Sometimes that means deselecting books to make room for new ones. It's not easy to get rid of books, but hey, it's part of life. Even our personal library shelves need to get culled sometimes. So today I'll be sharing 5 books that I'm cleaning off of my bookshelf. And trust me, some of these needed to go. So let's check it out. The first book I'm unhauling is I Am God by Giacomo Sartori, and translated from the Italian by Frederica Randall. This cover caught my eye from a mile away. It has this raised glitter portion that I was just in love with. In fact, I liked the look of it so much, plus the blurb on the back, that I went out and bought it after seeing it at the library, but I didn't read it first, and that was a mistake. I Am God is the diary of God, like the actual God, as he falls in love with a human geneticist who's an atheist to boot. Truly, it's a bit of an existential crisis. The omniscient narrator is used in full force here, so we get to know things about the love interest in her life that we wouldn't have access to in any other perspective. But that's where my praises of this book will end. The constant asides that God keeps making are very hard to read, but he keeps making them to hammer home the fact that yes, it is he, God, narrating. Plus, a good portion of this novel is spent managing the feelings of a being that shouldn't even have feelings, as God keeps reminding us. Throughout, the tonally entitled narration consistently attributes possessive and jealous actions to God's love for a girl who he doesn't even name for the first part of the book. Indeed, I wouldn't call this a love story at all, no matter what the publishing blurbs say. If love is patient and kind, never boastful or envious, then this is obviously not love. This is a diatribe about wanting something you can't have and then spiraling into a rage because of it. Instead of earned and resolved endings for the human characters, all we're left with is the omniscient narrator stewing in resentment of his own creation. And as a last condemning point, the homophobia in this novel is completely unacceptable. Especially in a modern novel, hate like that is inexcusable. So, I Am God, you're unhauled. Obviously, I didn't like that one. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz did fare a bit better. Scary Stories is a children's collection of folklore, edited and retold by the author. Most of the tales have either American or European origins, and they're split into 5 categories based on the content and the scare factor. It's a wide variety of stories. Some are jump scares, some are humorous, and some are songs. I know that this book has been a large part in many childhoods, but having not loved this as a child, it's a little bit hard to love as an adult. Yeah, some of the stories have good bones, but it's obvious that all of them rely heavily on the delivery to even have a chance at frightening someone. The illustrations, on the other hand, have surely been the cause of many a nightmare since 1981. I actually remember not wanting to read this book when I was a kid because that creepy clown skull thing, my child brain could not handle it. The copy that I recently read was published in 1986, so it had the original illustrations by Stephen Gamble. But there's also a 2010 re-release featuring the art of Brett Hellquist, the illustrator for the series of Unfortunate Events. Many people have voiced their displeasure at the change, considering how integral Gamble's illustrations are to the eerie quality of the tales. I can respect that. But if I had the Hellquist art when I was a child, I might have actually picked up this book when I was the intended age. Waiting until I was an adult kind of ruined it for me. That being said, I wasn't expecting such rigorous documentation and citation in a children's book. This is legitimate folklore scholarship, so even though the stories won't be keeping me up at night, I can respect the heck out of them. Overall, this book isn't one I need to keep. I'm going to pass it on to be sold at the library's book sale, where hopefully a child with more guts than me will read it and enjoy it. I'll also be unhauling Walking to Listen by Andrew Forsthoefel. If you've watched my other videos, you've heard me talk about this book before. It's a coming-of-age memoir where the narrator sets out to learn how to be a man by walking across the country and talking with people from different walks of life along the way. I borrowed this from my friend in 2016, and I never returned it. After many false starts, I finally finished it in May of this year, so excitedly, I called her up asking if she wanted it back. And she didn't. I guess I wasn't the only one that was underwhelmed about this book. I do think there's an audience for it, so I'm not going to sit here and bash it. You can watch my full review from my May wrap-up linked in the card above and in the description. But in short, I'm not going to keep this book because I'm just no longer the target audience. I didn't connect with the narrator, and I didn't connect with the coming-of-age story. I know there is someone out there who will enjoy it, so they should look for it at the upcoming library book sale. As for me, I'll be unhauling it. The space is worth a little bit more than the book to me. Next, Bottom Feeders by Ezra, Clayton Daniels, and Ben Passmore. What can I say about this book? Well, first, I am very upset that I own it in the first place. Because of my stupid self, I trashed the library book and ended up having to pay for it. Yeah, even librarians have to pay fines sometimes. So I bought it, and then when I finally got around to reading it, I was let down. And I had anticipated this book eagerly. It's a horror graphic novel, one of my favorite things, that addresses gentrification and urban blight. A friend picked up a teaser for me at the American Library Association's 2019 conference, and I had been on the lookout for a library copy ever since. So I finally get one, but then I ruin it, and then I'm disappointed. But okay, the story follows Darla, a recent art school grad who's moved into a new apartment in a blighted part of town because it's all she can afford. The landlord is bent on attracting cool black girls like Darla so he can ultimately attract a richer crowd and price out the original occupants of the building. Darla sees this, she gets it, and she's also troubled by how her white best friend seems to also be cashing in on her black girl cool for social clout. So far, I love the setup and the characters are relatable. It's when the horror elements are added that things start to get a little messy. It's true, the apartment complex is creepy. It's got all these slimy, hairy entrails and boils that truly are drawn very scary. You get little hints here and there, and then at the climax, you really see what the evil is capable of. But it was never a grips you and doesn't let you go horror that I was expecting. The parallels of the creature and the gentrification had great promise, but I'm left a little hazy about what exactly the metaphor was trying to get across. To top it off, the art is cool and hip, especially the coloring. But the character designs were, a little too loose for me to really respect the art. And gosh, I'm so bummed to say this. I really wanted to love it. It's a very unique concept that, probably doesn't have a huge mass marketability to begin with. I'm hesitant to say anything negative because I don't want the publishers to get the idea that I'm uninterested in Black creatives making content like this. I'm very interested. I want socially aware horror in graphic novels as well as in prose. And I want many voices telling the stories only they can tell. It's just that this one, it wasn't for me. That's the real problem. When there's so little representation of an author group or a genre, any of the books that you do get, they have to be everything for everyone, which, of course, is impossible. So, bottom feeders, I'm so sorry. I wanted to love you more. And I hope there is someone out there who's reading you and singing your praises. But for me, it's gonna be an unhaul. Sorry. And finally, today I'll be unhauling Thick and Other Essays by Tressie, McMillan, Cottom. But I'm not unhauling this book because I hated it. I'm actually getting rid of it because I loved it so much, I'm passing it on to a friend so she can read it. Thick is a smart, stirring, and striking collection of personal essays that deal with race, motherhood, beauty, and more. Cottom uses personal experiences as a launching pad for hard-hitting facts about the Black experience in America, especially the Black woman experience. If you respect and trust authors like Bell Hooks and Roxane Gay, Cottom's work should definitely be on your list. This book never coddled readers, especially white readers. It's brash and confrontational in truly the best way. While reading this, I learned things that Black women have always known. Blinded by white privilege and ignorance, I had never sought out these very accessible facts and the many corroborating stories. For example, as someone who is personally very scared of childbirth, I was floored to hear that Black American women are 243% more likely to die due to pregnancy and childbirth complications than white women. In fact, new Black American mothers die at the same rate as women in places like Uzbekistan. How did I not know? I was just chilled. It's information like that, plus the witty and streamlined writing that make this book amazing. And of course, this book doesn't speak for the whole Black woman experience, which is why you should read this one and then citation chain your way through to other really important thinkers. There is definitely more for me to read on this topic, but thick is an important book in that stack. I'm so excited to unhaul this and pass it along, to have even more people engage critically with the thought. And I hope you check it out soon to do the same. So that's my 5 books that I'm unhauling this month. Thank you so much for watching. Do you ever get rid of books? Leave me a comment to know how you possibly make space for all the books you want to buy. As always, any book that I mentioned today is listed in the description, along with information about how to get started with downloadable content. All you need is your library card to start accessing ebooks, e-audiobooks, movies, and more from your library for free. Like and share if you got something out of this video, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm back every week with new book talks, plus awesome content from the other creators on this channel. Like I said, I'll see you back here next Saturday for another episode of Book Talk with Michelle. In the meantime, connect with the Goffstown Public Library on social media for book recommendations all week long, or visit goffstownlibrary.com to see what's in the catalog yourself. Again, I'm Michelle with the Goffstown Public Library, and I'll check you out later. Bye!